Right now, the Strait of Hormuz, one of the most important waterways on Earth, is closed. Ships are being attacked. Oil tankers are turning back. And for the first time in decades, the United States, Iran, China, and Europe are all watching the same narrow stretch of water with the same question in mind. What happens if this doesn't stop? But this isn't the first time this exact strait has pulled the world's most powerful navies into war. Almost 40 years ago, the United States fought its largest naval surface battle since World War II in these same waters against this same enemy. And almost nobody remembers how it started or how close it came to spiraling into something far worse. Before we get into it, if you're new here, welcome. This channel covers real declassified history and the events that quietly explain the headlines we're living through today. If you want to understand more of what's actually shaping the world right now, consider subscribing. And if you've got thoughts on how you think today's tensions in the Gulf might unfold, I'd like to read them in the comments. Now, let's go back to where this pattern first began, the 1980s, and a conflict historians call the Tanker War. By the early 1980s, Iran and Iraq had been locked in a brutal, grinding war for years, a conflict that would eventually kill hundreds of thousands of people on both sides. Unable to break each other on land, both countries turned to a different kind of pressure, strangling each other's oil exports by attacking tankers in the Persian Gulf. Iraq struck first, declaring that any ship sailing to or from Iranian ports in the northern Gulf was a target. Iran, for its own part, held back initially, but by 1984 it began retaliating, striking tankers belonging to countries that were financially backing Iraq's war effort. Over the years that followed, hundreds of commercial ships were attacked. Sailors from countries with no stake in the war at all found themselves caught in the middle of someone else's conflict, simply for delivering oil through the wrong stretch of water. By 1987, the situation had escalated to the point where Kuwait, worried its own oil shipments would be destroyed, appealed to the international community for protection. The Soviet Union responded first, and that single fact changed everything. Washington, unwilling to let Moscow gain influence in the Gulf, moved quickly to counter it. The United States agreed to reflag Kuwaiti tankers under the American flag and began escorting them through the strait directly under an operation named Earnest Will. It didn't take long for American ships to become targets themselves. Iran had been laying naval mines throughout the shipping lanes, and in April 1988, the American frigate USS Samuel B. Roberts struck one of them. The explosion very nearly tore the ship in half. By the end of that year, naval historians would note that the only thing physically holding parts of the vessel together was its main deck. Incredibly, the crew kept the ship afloat using little more than heavy steel cables, and thanks to quick thinking by their captain, only 10 sailors were injured. No one died. 4 days after that mine strike, the United States responded with Operation Praying Mantis, and it remains to this day one of the largest single-day naval battles fought by the U.S. Navy since the Second World War. 3 American surface groups moved into the Gulf simultaneously. American forces destroyed 2 Iranian oil platforms being used to coordinate attacks on shipping. When an Iranian gunboat challenged the American fleet, it was sunk within minutes. by the time the operation ended that same day, the United States had sunk or crippled a significant portion of Iran's operational navy, one frigate destroyed, another crippled, a missile boat sunk, several armed speedboats eliminated. 56 Iranian sailors were killed. 2 Americans lost their lives in a helicopter crash during the operation. The tragedy that followed. But the most devastating moment of the entire tanker war came just weeks later, and it had nothing to do with a deliberate military strike. On July 3, 1988, the American guided missile cruiser USS Vincennes was operating in tense, contested waters near the strait. Its crew, exhausted and on edge after months of skirmishes, misidentified an approaching aircraft as an attacking Iranian fighter jet. It wasn't. It was Iran Air Flight 655, a civilian passenger plane carrying 290 people. The Vincennes fired. Both missiles struck. Every single person on board was killed. Washington called it a tragic accident, born from confusion in an active combat zone. Tehran believed otherwise. A declassified American intelligence report later revealed something almost nobody knew at the time. Iran's own leadership had genuinely believed the American strike was coordinated with a simultaneous Iraqi offensive that happened to launch that same morning, convincing them they were now facing a war on 2 fronts simultaneously. Facing that fear, and after years of catastrophic losses on the ground, Iran's leadership finally agreed to a United Nations brokered ceasefire just weeks later, in August of 1988. The tanker war officially ended that summer, but the underlying tension it revealed never actually went away. It simply went quiet for a few decades. Today, the same narrow stretch of water is once again at the center of a standoff involving the same regional power, only now with far more countries watching far more closely. China depends on that strait for a significant share of its oil imports. Europe depends on it for energy stability. And the United States is, once again, the naval power standing between open shipping lanes and a closed one. History rarely repeats itself in exactly the same way twice. But it's worth remembering that the last time this exact strait pulled the world's most powerful navy into open conflict, it started with a single mine, escalated into the largest naval battle in a generation, and came within a tragic misunderstanding of becoming something the world still hasn't fully recovered from. The question worth sitting with isn't whether that history could repeat. It's whether anyone currently making decisions over that same water has actually studied how close it came to disaster the last time. If stories like this, the ones that quietly explain what's happening in the news right now, are what you come here for, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And if this gave you a piece of context you didn't have before, a like on this video genuinely helps more people find it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.